real quick, I got Matt George. He's ready to join us right now. But I got to give a shout out to this Indiana Little League team as they just hit a walk-off home run to go to the Little League World Series in the, I don't know, Great Lakes Region Championship. That was some good stuff. Little League World Series and how they've extended it out now to see like the regionals and stuff like that. Always a good time of year. As I got Matt George from Locked On Kings and ABC 10. You a Little League World Series guy?
I am, in the sense that it's fun to have on like in the background right now when nothing's happening. Hell, these Little League World Series teams are more entertaining to watch than the Oakland A's and maybe San Francisco Giants are at this point in time. So, and some would argue better quality baseball half the time too. But no, I'm a fan of this. Actually, what I really like, KC, is in MLB broadcasts are starting to incorporate this more. I like when they take current MLB players and they show like Cody Bellinger recently during either the A's it was the Dodgers Padres series. They kept showing Bellinger and his time in the Little League World Series and stuff like that. I think that's cool when you incorporate stuff like that.
Absolutely. It's absolutely a pretty cool thing to see. Like to see these kids, see these major leaguers as kids. And, you don't know who you're watching right now. You could be watching the next Cody Bellinger. I think it was Gary Sheffield's team made it to, I think they might have won the Little League World Series. And they used to always bring that back up around this time of Gary Sheffield. There was another guy on that team. They had two major league players. Oh, it was Derek Lee. You remember? Not Derek Lee. It was Cliff Lee. And yeah, they were on the same team. There was another guy. No, I think there was another Derek Lee, not Sacramento's Derek Lee. This Derek Lee played Ramsey. If you're still listening, I know you know, but he played for the Padres and the Blue Jays in the early 90s. Right-handed hitter. I think he was number 14, but I think he played on the same team as Sheffield in the Little League World Series, and they won it all.
See, I really enjoy watching the Little League World Series to scout out the next talent that the Oakland A's will develop into a superstar and then trade to the New York Yankees or something like that.
Well, there's always that. There's absolutely always that. That is that, like the Little League World Series, is yearly. That. So
I'm not gonna lie, Casey. Like I listened to and I watched and I felt your frustration when you were venting about the Giants not being buyers at the trade deadline, and it was there was an evil part of me that was laughing and enjoying it, that Giants fans were suffering this kind of feeling, the same feeling that the A's fan base suffers every single year for an organization that does not need to operate as cheaply as they do. But I'm not saying I'm happy I'm happy to watch you suffer. And I'm not saying I'm happy for Giants fans to have to deal with that. But hey, man, welcome to the East Bay side of things where you watch everybody else get better and you sit there and punt on what could be a winnable team.
See, the difference there is, and I'm glad you were feeling my pain there. By the way, Ramsey comes through like he always does. Derek Bell, former Padre, that boy Ramsey, that boy, he got knowledge, man. Derek Bell, former Padre and Toronto Blue Jay. He played with Gary Sheffield on a Little League World Series championship team, I think. But here's the thing with the A's and the Giants. The A's, they operate, even though they got one of the top 5 richest owners in the game, they actually operate like a poor franchise.
Yeah, they do. They should.
They operate like that. The Giants, they act like they're poor, yet they operate like a caviar eating team. It's because, what I say, I can't remember. Let me pull it up again. What was the number I had? Because I checked this. I fact checked. Oh yes, that's right. $1,400 for a family of 4 to go to a game at Oracle Park. And that's before I get some garlic fries or something to drink or anything like that. They're out here charging an arm and a leg. And then when it gets time to pay the contracts, to go get these guys, payroll, we got a payroll. Come on, man. Come on. I ain't trying to hear all that.
That arm and the leg doesn't count the parking that you have to pay out there too, man. When we had to go out there, when we went out there covering the NBA Finals, unlike the great people at the Sacramento Kings organization, they make the media pay for parking out there. What? So we had to pay we put it all on company car, but regardless, we had to pay, and we had to pay.
How is the situation, man? What do you mean they make you pay for parking?
We had to pay, and we had to pay for the lot that was shared by both the Chase Center and the and Oracle Park. And both nights that we were out there, the Giants were playing. Actually, one of the 2 nights we were out there, the Giants were playing. And on that night, they charged 85 for parking, I think. 85 for parking. So that went on the company card. We didn't have to pay for it, but that was nuts. They don't do that to us in Sacramento. Sacramento, man, we get our parking taken care of.
Right there, man. They take care of us. Shout out to my guy, Uncle Vivek. He takes care of us. You know what I mean? He makes sure that, we're good to go. So, yeah, the A's, Giants.
Welcome to our pain, buddy. Welcome.
I don't. It's just this. All I know is they better be going hard after Aaron Judge this offseason. All right, give him the back that he needs. And these rumors that have got my heart fluttering right now about Ohtani possibly in 2 years or even next year at the deadline, give Ohtani whatever he's asking for. Get him to San Francisco. Like I said, it's my favorite line from the So Icy video when the guy says, "Get me Gucci Mane." All right? Get me Ohtani. That's how I feel. Get me Judge. All right, that's what I'm looking for.
Let's talk about this from Ohtani's perspective, though, right? He's, to this point, been wasted. Even though he's in Los Angeles, he's been wasted by the Angels, who have completely wasted the career of Mike Trout, right? He's an absolute superstar and giving the Angels the only relevancy they ever get over there, which is such a shame because they've had so many good players come through that organization, and they just suck every single year. If you're Ohtani, why would you choose San Francisco? And build the argument. Like, you're calling Ohtani right now and saying, man, you want to come to San Francisco over LA Dodgers, over the Padres, over the Yankees. You want to come to San Francisco. Why?
Well, I would tell him, I say, look, man, because first of all, it's reported that he wants to be on the West Coast. Clearly, he'll still be on the West Coast. You have, while it's not easy per se to hit a ball out of Oracle Park, you have a right field fence that's 307 feet away from home plate. Right there for you. It's right there for you, Shohei. This is for you. Yeah, man, this is for you. You can hit these balls in the McCovey Cove. It's all for you, Janet Jackson, right? Plus, we have lineage here in San Francisco. You're not playing for the Angels anymore, where it's just this kind of throwaway franchise in Major League Baseball history. You're talking about one of the top franchises in the history of the game. And you got an opportunity to play for them, be the star. I think my man, where is he at in the chat? My man Aldrin said it. Japantown in San Francisco, going to throw a parade here. You're going to be a son of the city. Here, you go to the Dodgers. First of all, you've already lived in LA. You know what it is. Like, it's cool. It's cool, whatever the case may be, but you're going to be just another guy, Shohei. You come here, all the pomp and circumstance. You're going to be that guy. You're going to be the possible legend. Barry Bonds is going to be there on opening day, and he's going to hand you the crown to say, you're the king of San Francisco right now.
Well, I disagree with you that Shohei Ohtani is going to be just another guy. I don't think it's possible for that man to be just another guy with the stuff that he does, but I get your point with the Dodgers, the amount of names that he pairs with. But I think what you're building off of is what I was thinking. Like, in San Francisco, you become the icon. Like, it's Barry Bonds, it's Willie Mays, it's Buster Posey, Madison Bumgarner, you are that icon here. In the same way that the city has embraced Posey, embraced Lincecum for a small period of time, embraced Kane for a small period of time, but embraced Bonds and all them. Like, that is you, maybe to become, like, I think instantly Shohei Ohtani gets on the path of becoming the greatest Giant ever. And he hasn't even played a game yet. So
he's going to be in the lineage. Yeah.
If that's what he wants, while also theoretically competing at a high level. Now, I think the Giants would have a lot of work to do to surround him with a team that will actually win a World Series. They have some work to do there. So maybe that's the hard thing to compete with the Padres or Yankees or Dodgers about. But if Shohei Ohtani wants to be the man and be as close to home as possible, San Francisco makes sense.
Absolutely. And I'll give him the other part of my pitch to Shohei is, yes, you are a pitcher as well. You're in probably the number one pitcher's park in Major League Baseball. So,
really? Do you think that's the number one pitcher's park over like Oakland with the foul ball territory?
You got the foul territory, but I mean, routinely, like you talk about Triples Alley, and I know they brought the wall in a little bit, but I mean, there's a reason that Matt Cain, Lincecum, Bumgarner, all these guys, and the bullpen that the Giants had was always routinely at the top of the list. Then pitching, it's top 5 at the very least. You know what I mean? It's not a bandbox. It's a place where pitchers seem to love to pitch. And Shohei, you get to pitch and do all that. I'll go get me an Ohtani jersey. I'll be like, Ohtani, come on, man. I'm getting that. Probably wear 17 or something like that. Ain't his number right now. I'll go get me that Shohei jersey. Absolutely. I don't care what Olivia Christian says.
Not to switch gears, when are we going to talk about the reason why Damian Barling is not on the show today is because the Arco Arena ghosts have cursed his internet after he cut that terrible promo on my arena yesterday.
Well, I mean,
I wanted to say that to his face. I was going to boycott the show because he's spitting that nonsense about my second home like that. I think it's justice.
The people in the chat have brought that up, that the ghost of Arco, the ghost of the Clown Tunnel, the ghost of Power Balance Pavilion, they have just wreaked havoc on Damian's internet connection today and said, we didn't like what you said yesterday. We're not going to allow you to talk. Show some respect. Okay. Now, he made a lot of good points. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'll let you defend this 8-year demolition of Sleep Train, Power Balance, Arco Arena.
Well, one of the things he said that he's actually right about is he said fans were ripping off the Band-Aid slowly. Actually, that part is wrong. The ripping off the Band-Aid slowly is correct, but it's not the fans. It's the arena demolition of taking piece by piece by piece off and taking a picture of it after they take another piece off. Like, I agree with y'all. Blow the damn thing up and get it over with. Like, them taking pictures and showing pictures of the walls of my second home, the walls of the only building to encapsulate good Sacramento Kings basketball, a house of memories, not just for myself, but for so many people here in Sacramento, good memories, positive memories, happy memories. To see that be torn down brick by brick, piece by piece, and to post picture after picture about it, that hurts. That tugs on the heartstrings. And, you know, to say that the Power Balance Pavilion, Sleep Train Arena, to call it that is nonsense. It's Arco Arena. We know it's Arco Arena. It'll forever be Arco Arena. And that building, at least for me personally, that is where not just my fandom for basketball, my love of the Sacramento Kings, my love of professional sports, it wasn't just born in that building. My career, Kenny Caraway, was born in that building. That's where I covered my first ever NBA game when I was in high school. I got to go cover, this was DeMarcus Cousins' rookie season. I got to go to Kings Media Day and got to cover that for my high school. It was the only high school team able to do that, to be in there, to go in that VIP entrance that they had tucked along the side in that purple tunnel. They had the Kings mural up there right by the wall, man. That building was not only the birthplace of basketball and my love of basketball for me, that was the birthplace of my career. And to see that torn down piece by piece is tough. So leave it alone, Damian. Let me suffer.
I think he understands what you're saying, but I mean, I don't know, man. I hadn't thought about Arco, and I don't know how long.
Well, but here's the thing. Like, I walk into the Golden One Center, and I remember the first time walking into the Golden One Center going, oh my God, we have a real arena. Like, and that's no disrespect to Arco. Like, it was a modern NBA arena. And every time, I still am blown away every time I walk in the Golden One Center. Like, and obviously I'm biased, but the first time I walked into the Chase Center, I did not have the same reaction. Chase Center is a nice building. The Golden One Center is jaw-dropping to me, and I don't take it for granted. But the Golden One Center will not hold a candle to Arco Arena until we get playoffs in there, until we get moments and memories in there. Like, the biggest moments that we've had in Golden One Center outside of concerts or big shows that have come into town is, I don't know, when Vince Carter went off against the Cavs, like a couple of game winners, like DeMarcus Cousins getting ejected and then unejected. Like, those are the biggest moments that we have in that building. We haven't seen that arena at its peak yet, unlike Arco, which was unrivaled by anybody in the league for that period of time in the early 2000s. So as nice as the Golden One Center is, as way better as it is a facility, as like modern compared to the old barn that is Arco Arena, Golden One Center, take a step back. You're second to Arco until the team that plays in you actually does something.
Oh, I know Stephen Brown's going to have fun with that comment right there. Jesse's going to clip that. the team that what?
The team that plays in you actually does something in you.
Oh,
pause.
Wow. There's Marcus. There's Marcus in the chat. We knew it was coming. But
I want one of those shirts, by the way. When you do those shirts, I want one of those shirts.
oh, we got you. No doubt about it. We got Matt George here from Locked On Kings and ABC 10, closing out this Thursday show of D-Lo and Casey with your mans. I will say this, though. When it does happen, and this is no disrespect, it just is what it is. When it does happen, it's going to be bigger and better than anything we had at Arco.
Absolutely.
And I think the actual arena is not going to be the same. Like Arco is you probably, have a feeling of people right on top of you and closeness and all this other stuff. It was a movie. But you can tell me, because I didn't go to any of the playoff games at Arco or anything like that. But after, say the Kings win game 3 of their playoff series in round 1, the scene in the building, in the concourse, in Doco is going to be nuts.
No, absolutely.
Nuts. L Street is probably going to be shut down because there's going to be people watching outside on the big screen that's up on the parking lot or parking garage or whatever. And it's going to be nuts. And I think that can all be, it won't take away your memories of Arco or anybody's memories of Arco. But when that does happen, it's going to be like, yo, yeah, this is different. This is a different vibe.
I completely agree, Kenny. And honestly, like, what I'm excited about is when the Sacramento Kings make it to the opening round of the playoffs this year, and the TNT crew or ESPN crew or whatever, they come to town because they know game 3 here in Sacramento that's going to get a lot of coverage because first time the Kings are here in 16 years, first ever playoff game in this building. What I'm excited about is it's going to showcase Sacramento. Like, no disrespect to Natomas. I actually really like Natomas. Arco Arena's out there.
Yeah.
Golden One Center's right in the center of downtown. Like, it's going to showcase Sacramento, and you best believe, even if you're not one of the 17 or 18,000 who are lucky and financially fortunate enough to be able to afford a ticket to get in the building, there's going to be thousands, tens of thousands in the streets, tens of thousands in Doco. Like, Sacramento will represent, and that's what I'm looking forward to, is that opportunity for the city to represent, remind everybody, hey, we've been here the entire time. Just because y'all think that the Kings haven't been good in 16 years that we've all been hiding. No, we've been here the entire time too. And I'll be honest with you, like, I've heard the Golden One Center get really loud for a fourth quarter pump up by Scott Freshour against the Warriors when the Kings are 15 games under 500 in February. Like, that place gets fired up. So I know that place is going to be loud when we finally get playoffs here. And I mean, you hear people tell the story all the time. I was not at this game, but when the Kings hosted, I think it was the Sonics, right? And it was game 3 against the Sonics. And the standing ovation when the Kings just came out and how loud it was then. Like, that's what I expect in the Golden One Center. And that's what it's going to be. It's going to be an absolute celebration. So until we get that, Arco is forever king, and I will forever hold on to Arco like that. And I'll always have Arco memories in my heart. But until Golden One Center reaches that true movie status, man, then Arco will forever be number 1 here.
Hey, you're a news guy now. So maybe you have some info on this. Do you have any information on why they didn't just blow it up?
I don't. I wish I did, because it would have been easier for all of us, and it would have been cool to watch. Like, I'm intentionally avoiding driving past. I'll see the pictures, and I'll retweet the pictures and things like that, and we're running the pictures here on ABC 10. But I've intentionally avoided, like, driving by Natomas because I don't want to see it. I don't want to go down 5 and see holes in my building and things getting torn down. I would have lied to watch an explosion and to frame it the explosion of the Kings playoff drought. And I know people have said now that the Arco Arena's coming down, maybe the curse goes with it. We'll have to wait and see with that. But no, I don't know why they didn't just blow it up.
Yeah, I don't know. The only thing that I could think of is they still use that practice facility, I think, for like Kings camps and maybe the Stockton Kings or something like that. And they do like I think the dance team or something holds their tryouts there or whatever. But you have a practice facility at the arena. You could just do it there. Like, let the Stockton Kings come in there when the Kings, like, you could have just blew it all up.
I'm glad you brought that up. Ron Artest posted a picture recently inside that practice facility, and they had it. I don't know if it was an old picture, if it was a current picture. They had it set up for like a media day press conference thing. Like, they had it set up in a weird way. But like, looking at that picture, it got me going down my feels a little bit. Like, I'm assuming, I'm just going to assume, it could be wrong because they could have changed the courts a million times in there, but I'm just going to assume that gym is the same. Like, think about the amount of greatness that was developed and created on that floor. Like that, we gloss over like Arco Arena and everything. We gloss over that practice facility attached to it. Like that was where the Kings were born, in a sense. Like that 0-2 team was born. That's where Rick Adelman got that team to play. That's where like Chris Webber took control. That's where Jay Will came in as a rookie. Mike Bibby took over. Like that building is just as special in my mind. That floor is just as sacred as Arco Arena floor is. And by the way, I do actually have a piece of the Arco Arena floor from the 2002 season. They broke up the floor, and the Maloofs gave them out to season ticket holders. My uncle was a season ticket holder at the time. He's the one that took me to Kings games all the time when I was a kid. I have a plaque with a piece of the sideline from that 2002 season. That's one of my favorite things I own.
That is really cool. That's dope. That is really dope. That's a great point that you make about the practice facility and what it fostered. I was trying to think, when did they get that practice facility? Because I don't think the original Greatest Show on Court, like they didn't start there. Like it might have been built in like 03, 04, 05, something like that. Because I remember it was fairly new, and I think everything had kind of died down by the time they got it. But they had guys coming through there, the Bibbies, the Chris Webbers, and Doug Christie's, all those guys, Bobby Jackson, coming through there, and the practices from those guys had to have been. We talk about movie status, just a movie, just a crack up. It could have been intense, the competition that was going on. Yeah, that says a lot right there.
I'm going to have to look that up because that kills my whole vibe if that building wasn't built when they were there. But I will say Doug Christie has told this story multiple times, and I'm going to butcher the retelling of it. But I remember it was during a practice. I don't know if it was pre-playoffs or preseason or what it was. It was during a practice, and Rick Adelman – no, it was playoffs, and the Kings were getting ready for the Lakers. And Rick Adelman was having the defense just run these schemes over and over and over and over again to prepare for what the Lakers were bringing. Or maybe it wasn't the Lakers, maybe it was the Mavericks. I don't know. And I think Doug said it was Chris Webber that spoke up in practice and just said, hey, Rick, like, trust us. We got this. Let us play our game. Let's not try and change what we do in order to like match another team. Just trust us. And Rick trusted them. And Rick said, okay, like I trust you guys. That's cool. So we got to get DC to tell that story again, because it's one of my favorite stories that he's told. But that's just gives you an example of the respect that's in there, because we all know like Rick Adelman is the GOAT of Kings coaches. No one will ever touch him. And if we got to tear down that Piglet statue and get a statue of Rick Adelman out there, in my opinion. But
absolutely, the Piglet statue.
Rick is the GOAT there. But to hear the respect that he had for the Kings to allow them to beat, like the Kings were flashy, man. They showed off. To allow Jay Will as a rookie to show off, to allow Chris Webber to throw behind the back passes, like Rick trusted that team just as much as they trusted him. So if I could go back anywhere and just to sit in a Kings practice facility during that 01-02 season, just watch during preseason, during training camp. I wish I was old enough at the time to be able to cover the team, because that was probably basketball nirvana is what Doug Christie calls it.
Yeah, man, that was special. That was a special time for sure. Hoping to get back to those times as I'm rapping with my guy Matt George from ABC 10 and also Locked On Kings. As we wind down this Thursday afternoon, hopefully the Kings create some magic akin to that this season. And I don't know if they're going to be as flashy. I don't know if they're going to be the greatest show on court or whatever the case may be. But I think they are going to be improved from what we saw last year and what we've seen over the last 16 years, to be honest with you. We talked about it a little bit earlier. David Aldridge was ranking the top off seasons for every team in the league. And last year, I think he had the Kings at 29. I made a big fuss about that. This year, he released them 10 slots at a time. So he had 30 through 20. Didn't see the Kings there. He had 20 through 11. Didn't see the Kings there. So we knew he was going to be top 10. He came out with the top 10 today. He had the Kings at number 6 for the 6th best offseason this year. I'll read you some of the things that he said. He said, in win now mode with multiple executives nearing the end of their current contracts, the Kings did well to address their sickly 34%, 24th in the league, 3-point percentage. Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter are just what the doctor ordered, pumping desperately needed spacing in the Sacto's half-court offense through which De'Aaron Fox can get better maneuvering. He talks about that. He said the Kings made the right call for them with the number 4 pick in the draft of Keegan Murray, a wildly productive wing at Iowa who should find plentiful front court minutes in Sacramento with Harrison Barnes. Add Domantas Sabonis in the middle, and a pretty potent offensive group is coming into focus. It'll be Mike Brown's job to put some teeth into the squad at the other end. The Kings haven't been in the top half of the league in defensive rating since 2005, 2006, and they've only cracked the top 20 once during that stretch. After all the crap basketball they've endured for more than a decade, Kings fans deserve a playoff run next season, a real one. What do you think about David Aldridge's assessment of the Kings season? They're saying he had the 6th best offseason in the NBA this past season.
We should ask him a follow-up question and ask him if he'd take the over or under on the 34 wins or whatever the hell it was for the next season too, to see if he really wants to put his money where his mouth is. But no, I love that. And I mean, what I think, the way I've summarized this offseason is Monty McNair has executed a plan that makes sense, that we don't have to convince ourselves is the right plan, right? We don't have to, like, you think you have your best 2 players who are not known for being on the perimeter. You need shooting. You go out and get shooting. You need defense. So you bring in a defensive minded head coach. Like, it makes sense. We don't have to figure it out. Like, Vlade would make moves sometimes that we would have to treat like a puzzle. Like, oh, maybe this is what he's thinking. Maybe if he combines this with this, then that's what will happen. You don't have to do that with this. It's like, it's basic. And look, my understanding of basketball doesn't go nearly as deep as Monty McNair and Mike Brown do, but I'd like to believe that just because it's basic and I understand it doesn't mean that it's not too simple to be figured out. Like, look at what the Milwaukee Bucks did. Giannis Antetokounmpo was surrounded by shooters for years, and he still is, and they won an NBA championship because of it. Like, it's simple. It's like, there's a reason why it's effective. So Monty McNair has put together an offseason that makes sense. And in addition to that, he's put together a roster that's now coached by, like, I think Luke Walton is a legitimate head coach, and I thought that he was okay to have the job, but is coached by someone who's been there and done that before.
Right.
And this roster is now a roster that is consistently filled with NBA talent. Like, whether it's I think the rotation, the Kings are going to have a 9-man rotation. 8 of those 9 spots are filled already, in my opinion. So a lot of guys are going to be competing for that 9 spot. But that doesn't mean that 10 through 15 isn't extremely important as well. Like, 10 through 15 is now filled with guys that, in the event that anything happens over the course of a season, injuries, COVID, fatigue, whatever, you can go to 10, you can go to 11, you can go to 12, you can go to 13, and it's not going to be plummeting off a cliff. Like the Kings in the past have had, and I'm all for giving roster spots to players that you want to develop projects. That's why I think the 2-way contract is so important. And Keita and Ellis, I think, are 2 players that potentially could develop into something here in Sacramento. But you're not giving them spots 12 and 13. 12 and 13 are taken by guys who are going to be taken by guys who are going to be ready to step up. And the break glass in case of emergency status for them doesn't mean that they're not capable NBA players. Yeah. Like, that's what surprises me, or not surprises me. That's what excites me so much about training camp this year. And I'm going to do a whole series on this on Locked On Kings, but there are so many individual entertaining training camp battles for spots that might not even be consistently in the rotation. You talk about Dellavedova versus Quinn Cook. You could talk about Kent Bazemore versus Terrence Davis. You could talk about Alex Len versus Nehemiah Queta. Like, these are all battles that are going to be happening and are theoretically going to make the team better. I think the Kings are putting a lot on the shoulders of Mike Brown to say, hey, we brought in all this offensive firepower. Our main signings this offseason have been offensive-minded more than defensive-minded. You being the defensive guru, you have to make it work and figure it out with this roster. I'm not saying this roster isn't capable, but that's putting a lot of faith into Mike Brown and a lot on his shoulders, and I wouldn't necessarily blame him if he's not able to get this team defensively to where he wants them to get next season. But if there's a guy for the job, I think it's Mike.
See, and I agree with everything that you said. Your assessment of the guys that they brought in and their role, and like you said, a lot of the times they're asking G League guys, fringe NBA guys, to be the eighth man on the roster. Like that's tough sledding for them and for your team. But when you talk about putting a lot on Mike Brown's plate and asking a lot out of him, I understand that. But I've talked about it today and numerous times before. I think that this team should be a team that's ranked 12th to 18th on the defensive end in the league. Yeah. And I know they don't have a lot of quote unquote defensive minded guys, but I'm a believer that if you have guys that understand the assignment, so to speak, they understand how to play team basketball. They understand where they're supposed to be. They're getting taught where they're supposed to be on the defensive end, understanding the game plan, and not being necessarily great one-on-one defenders, but understanding the principles of team defense. I think they can get from anywhere between 12 to 18. 12 is like maybe a little more pie in the sky, but we talking about 17, 18. I think they absolutely can get there with this group. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think it should be an unrealistic expectation that this team defensively can get out of the bottom third of the league. Like the bottom third of the league, you don't want to be there. And I understand it's a big improvement to go from 28th or 29th in the league to 21st or 22nd. Some people say, hey, that's significant improvement. And it is a pretty decent jump, but you're still bottom third in the league. So to say that the Sacramento Kings should be able to get to average defensively shouldn't be a big ask. But for this team historically, it is a big ask, and it's going to take, like, best case scenario, I agree with you. Best case scenario, Kenny, for this team defensively, I still think is like 12th or 13th in the league. Like, and I don't expect them to reach that. But 15, 16, 17 shouldn't be super far out of the realm of possibility. But what that's going to require is not only for Mike Brown to put his defensive expertise out there, but it's going to require the team to buy in, and it's going to start at the top. Like, not just Fox, Sabonis has to buy in defensively. Malik Monk, Kevin Huerter got to buy in defensively. Harrison Barnes has to re-buy in defensively. Like, if they're going to accomplish that, it's going to take all hands on deck, and we can't just blame one guy for everything going wrong defensively anymore. Like, it's as great as Davion Mitchell is. Like, Davion Mitchell shouldn't look so good defensively because nobody else plays defense. Davion Mitchell should look good defensively because he is damn good defensively, and he's the defensive leader on at least an average defensive team. Like, that should be the standard. That should be the precedent for the Kings this year. And we're going to get at least a glimpse of that in training camp. But even more importantly, like, in training camp, I expect that intensity. Remember training camp last year? We saw the videos of Tristan Thompson, like, pumping his chest. We saw the
the clip heard around the world.
Right, exactly. I expect in training camp this team to look intense defensively. I expect in preseason them to look intense and sloppy defensively. But when we get to December, are they playing with the same defensive effort? Like, are the guys still bought in on that end of the floor? Because you best believe at some point, the team's going to get punched in the mouth. Even if they're making improvements, even if they get off to a hot start, at some point they're going to get punched in the mouth. It's going to happen. They're a young team, or I shouldn't say young. They're an inexperienced team. Mm-hmm. They're going to get punched in the mouth at some point. Do they fold, or do they keep going? Like, defensively, does that stay consistent? Consistency is such a major thing for this team. I expect them to go through highs and lows offensively. I'm not too worried about that. Defensively, am I getting the same effort on a nightly basis? Not the same results, because other teams are going to torch you. There are going to be nights where insert team here shoots 40% from or 50% from three-point range, and you're just like, well, there's nothing we can do at this point. But defensive effort, is it the same for everybody from day one to December? Let's just start there. Let's have checkpoints throughout the season. Yeah. Defensively, are they the same when they reach that checkpoint, or do they need to revisit that? And who is it that's setting that precedent? That's what I want to see.
Yeah, for sure. Maddie McQueen, it was great seeing you over the weekend too, by the way, man. That was good stuff, man. You're my guy. You know, I love talking to you. I love seeing you. So that was some good stuff. Real quick before you get out of here, Niners preseason game tomorrow. You guys going to the game tomorrow?
I wish. We're not going to be there. We'll be following it, though. You best believe. I'm so excited for football to be back. And Shanahan said a couple days ago that we're going to get some snaps from Trey. We're going to get some snaps from the first stringer. So I'm looking forward to, mainly, I hope the Niners defense gets to showcase a little of what they've been showing in training camp. Because, man, Trey Lance hasn't looked terrible in training camp. He could be better. Offensive hasn't looked terrible. Like Brandon Ayuk has looked phenomenal in training camp. But defensively, man, whew, Niners have looked real good in training camp defensively. So I hope they showcase that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it was a episode of Locked On earlier this week where it was almost Locked On 49ers, the scouting report Matt George was giving to my Niners. So I love to hear that, man. So it's always good talking to you, Matt. I appreciate you tapping in with us today, big dog.
I appreciate that too. And real quick, I'll sneak this in. My episode of Locked On Kings today, I did a deep dive on some numbers and some video between Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox. And I was really impressed by a lot of things I saw from Malik Monk. If you go back and watch highlights of Malik and look at some of his numbers, look up his fast break numbers because he runs just as much as De'Aaron Fox runs. Malik Monk was actually pretty good at jumping passing lanes. He had a couple games with like 3, 4, 5+ steals. And Malik Monk doesn't get as much credit, and a lot of this has to do with how his game is translated into the NBA. But he is a relentless rim attacker. Like he went at the rim a lot with Kentucky alongside De'Aaron Fox, and I hope we see that in Sacramento too.
Telling you, man, I think people sleeping on what Malik is going to be able to bring, man. I think he's going to have a huge season. I think he's going to have a huge 2 seasons with the Sacramento Kings, and then they're going to have to maybe pay him what he's owed at that point, man. So appreciate you again, Matt George. Check out the latest edition of Locked On Kings with Matt George. Also catch him on ABC 10